Hello everyone, how are you? Welcome to Digital Cider Stream. This is actually the episode, just the one before the last one. So this should be the 47th digital stream that I'm doing, which is pretty interesting. Welcome everyone. As you noticed this week, we're chatting about cider, and I had the pleasure to be joined by some of the biggest representative of the contemporary cider world. And my name is Gabs, and I'm today in my flat in London. Unfortunately, I'm not in Bristol as I was yesterday, and it has been a pleasure so far to do all of these beautiful chats with different experts in beer, in cider. And when we're talking about cider, there are so many things we should consider, so many things we should learn, so many things we should think, and it's a culture that is probably as big as the beer one. Is a culture which is completely based on specific type of apples and territory and techniques, and you can create incredible products from single style apples, from different type of apples. And there is this movement that someone wanted to, call like fine cider. I love the term that fine cider gives to this brand new cider word. It sounds like craft beer. It sounds like natural wine. It sounds like something that has been, is not there to create a substitution. It's more like, to enrich the panorama of all of these incredible products. And today I have the pleasure to be with Martyn, and Martyn is my cider prophet, is also my beer prophet, is someone I worked with when I was at my Clapton craft in Finsbury Park. We had many shifts together. He would show me so many different things about beer, how to manage a keg, how to clean lines properly, all of this kind of stuff. He does have an incredible experience along some very iconic bars and pubs in London, like the Cock Tavern in Hackney. If you've never been, should. He's now running the Good Chemistry pub called the Good Measure, and I will have a chat with him specifically on this brand new hashtag idea, which is Rethink Cider. I don't know exactly Rethink Cider, what that means, because I think I have a very clear idea about what cider is contemporary, but I'm aware it's not for everyone like that. So we should understand, learn, adapt, flourish as a term to make sure that see that cider will succeed. So it's a great pleasure to chat with Martyn. If you are, let me trying to have him on the spot. You can't even believe how happy I am. So hopefully he will accept in a second. In the meantime, tell us what you drink, tell us what you're having to watch this stream, and we will be very, very curious. Hold on a second.
What? I've always had this park ranger mustache.
Yes, but these left is a bit like, it's an interesting one, Martyn. I love that.
Basically, I was waiting for the old, what's it called again, barbers to open up. I grew it down to here, and they said they can't do around the mouth and that because it's coronavirus. So I was like, fuck it, shave it. So have the old Ned Flanders.
Are you around? Are you allowed to have the Ned Flanders during the pandemic and whatever it's called? I don't know. I mean, I had a big one, but I had that shave as well. So
Yeah. I know the feeling. How you doing, bud? How's everything?
Very good, man. Like, it's a very good time for all of us. So I told you, like, yesterday I was in Brighton and Hove, and for the first time I was in a train, and the most annoying thing, it wasn't that there were no around. It was having a mask, glove, and just trying to keep distance for everyone. That was pretty unusual.
Yeah, I can't imagine, like, in Bristol we use we use the buses to get everywhere. But to be honest, since moving here, I've been walking, and I can't imagine being like from Hackney to Finsbury Park on the train. Like the anxiety of coronavirus for me, I just would be like, no, I'm going to stay home.
I know, but that's why friends of us on Twitter, especially, were a bit like concerned about what will happen in this city and in the rest of the country when our lovely pubs are going to open again with our clear idea about how to run and customers and, you know, dealing with them. Scary times.
Yeah, it's all. I'm sure everyone's sick of the word unprecedented. It's been said that many times, but the problem is, it's like the sheer nature of hospitality. As soon as you create divides and barriers and make it kind of an inhospitable environment, no one. It's not comfortable to sit like in one little corner with a screen, and then you're only allowed 3 drinks, and someone's got your. Like the government are making it so you have to get everyone's details to make a track and trace system. Yeah. So like I wouldn't trust giving my details to a Weatherspoons pub. Obviously, I'm not going to Spoons, but like there's questions now raised in a time when you're meant to be going to the pub to like let off steam and chill out. I just think it's counterintuitive, and but I would much rather everyone be safe and healthy than have a pint in a pub, to be honest.
And what are you planning for the Good Measure, the pub? Where are you right now?
So we spoke today, actually. Myself, Kelly and Bob, the owners. They're the guys who run the brewery as well, Good Chemistry. But we're going to be announcing it this week. But in short, takeaway and social distance, and just giving people a chance to take craft beer from a brewery they love home, kind of thing. So it's like it's more like a tap room takeaway than it will be a sit down pub again. So the identity of it's going to change for now, but if that means that we can keep the business in good stead and sell the beer to people who want it, it's like it's good. But it's all just like crazy times, and I'm sure everyone's in the same boat. So what else can you do other than like just to hold on to your hats?
Well, I know what you did, because you actually became a cider, gypsy cider.
This is the first, I think it's the world's first pandemic released poem cider.
I really, really do. It's incredible. I love that. Then, you know, it's like, is you giving me a bottle even if I receive it at home, and you will tell me this, and you will tell me where we're gonna meet to discuss about this. You know, it's like it's really you, Martyn. I love that. And
well, that's what's good with the guy who owns Pilton. His name's Martyn as well, so it gets confusing, Martyn and Martyn. But he if you followed his kind of making and like his branding, everything from the start, and even his sort of repurposing of the Normandy technique in keeving, he's really into the theatrics of cider and like that presentation and everything. And he invited me down. His words were, when this is over, I really want you to come down for a blend and just like spend the day and hang out, kind of thing. And I said, like, well, I've got the car and I'm legally not allowed to work because I'm furloughed. So when am I going to get a time like this where I've got time off and a vehicle to actually do it? So we just set it up, and he socially distanced when he's got 2 barns. So one's his working barn and one's the fermentation sort of station thing. And he said, right, here's these jugs, everything sterilized. Just pour a taster of everything. And if you come up with something, we'll bottle it. Oh, there's Quiz. Hello, Quiz. But it was kind of like getting a ticket to Willy Wonka factory of just like, try every barrel you want, mate. And this being the result of it was just, I loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Wow. Oh, love that. That's interesting. So, Martyn, you know, you've been the first person to actually let me try fine cider. by inside, I'm like, the producers then are now well acclaimed, everywhere in the country and abroad. And you were telling me about things when I was trying this side, probably would migrate from the wine word and the beer word. I'm not saying I'm ready to concentrate on appreciation with cider terms, but hey, shall we try to do it with bottle?
Yeah, there you go. Well, this is yeah. Don't look at the label. I'm not going to tell you anything. Just dive in, and then you can rip off that wrapper because underneath I've designed the label as well. But
Okay.
yeah, no, already started.
So, okay, wow. First of all, like for example, when I have a beer on with me, I'm just trying to understand if it's bigger the acidity or the sweetness than I have on the nose.
Yeah, yeah.
Straight away. Really well balanced between the two. And the sweetness that I'm having, it's sort of honeyish. It's very rich. It's not that, sharp. It's pretty generous.
Mm.
I don't have this kind of a crazy wild yeast than I had some other times, which makes me feel probably it will be a very gentle in the mouth type of blend.
I just want to be very gentle in your mouth. That's the. That's it, mate. No, sit, have a sip, have a little drink, have a go.
Yeah, I knew it. Okay. Oh, so this is the type of cider that I'm looking for to crack on with something. I want to have it with cheese. I want to sit in a bench with you somewhere nice, a chat. The sweetness is really gentle. Is really, it's persistent in the mouth as well.
Yeah, so it's one where basically to describe the blend itself, out of all the barrels in that, Martyn's got a keeved cider. So a basic rundown for anyone who doesn't know, keeving is the process of you kind of reduce the nutrients that the yeast have to work with. So instead of fermenting to dry and having a 7% dry cider, it's sluggish, slow, and it drops out. So you end up with a 3 to 5, depending on how much sugar there is, but like naturally sweet, sort of sessionable cider that has big, it's got like big old honey and like that toffee apple character. But this one here was a blend of 2 different vintages of the Keeve. So 2018, which is sort of finished up its fermentation. It's got a little oxidized kind of wild note to it. So there's like a little kind of like sherry kind of character there. And then the 2019, it was actually still going. It was quite young. So it was about 3%. And my God, it was like trying it. It was like candy floss and apples and like berries. It was mad. It was absolutely mad. So it's an equal blend of those parts. So you've got the astringency, the tannin, the kind of brassy raw note of the 2018. And then that is sort of subdued by the sweetness that's coming through on the 19. So you've got essentially funky wild, but slide it in the guise of like a table cider that's like casual. And then that is blended with a cider that Martyn took, and he took the skins of Pinot Noir from Dunleavy winery and aged it on that. I think it was for like 6 weeks on skins or something wild. And when I tried it, it was like my mouth just, it looked like, Homer Simpson when it's like he eats so tannic, but like really raw, like fucking like intense. But that little, it's about 10% of the mix, but that little bit It's still rugged and raw, but all the sweetness from the 2019 brings it down. But it actually as well amplifies that juicier note from the grapes. So because all that sugar's gone, the sugar from the apples kind of replace it. So you end up with a juicy berryish note at the end. So it's a whole heap of wild that I accidentally made on purpose.
Now that it's growing in my mouth, used to the sweetness, both in the nose and in the mouth, it opens up and it gives me lots of funkiness, as you said. But it's not that kind of breaded funkiness. It's not kind of a mushroom. It's more like, as you said, it's wood. It's very hard to express it. You know, in the mouth as well. It's like the bitterness comes up. I don't know where the bitterness comes from. If it's all apple juice and crazy, where is the bitterness?
Yeah.
Onions or
Yeah, so bitterness and that astringency will be from the apple skins, the tannins. So if you were to take a cider apple from a tree as it's growing and bite into it, it's like bitter sandpaper acid. It's like they're disgusting. But those tannins when they go through fermentation, and especially malolactic fermentation, the second stage of it, it kind of softens them and it just creates that length to the sort of taste. So I myself love bone dry, raw, like put it up to 10, like funk, but only in little bits. Whereas this Martyn's got some tanks like that, and he's got one where it's like I don't want to give it away, but like essentially a blackcurrant wine acid. It's fucking insane. But that in a blend would be lovely. But I tried it like neat, and I was like, my teeth and everything were like. But it's one thing I learned about doing this is a lot of people come to cider through beer, and there's I guess either an expectancy that it's a recipe and that you make it like, oh, you know the end result, so you'll engineer it that way, or that it's kind of like you press and that ferments and then that's the end product. But it's closer to kind of like the lambics and everything, where half the arts, pretty much 90% is the apples, and then you're shepherding it wherever you want to kind of produce it. If you imagine like it's like producing music, you're not the artist, the apples have done their job, and your kind of goal is to get them to where they're singing, kind of thing.
wow. And I don't know, for example, if the technique of blending is as, you know, popular into the cider world as is for Belgian beer. I have no idea.
Well, what's funny is a lot of makers are so different from each other, and cider's so I guess it's so quiet on the mainstream side of it, and that's changed so much in about 5 years. But a lot of makers do it so differently. Like it's basically there's sort of two camps before we even get to fine cider. There's two kind of camps of it, where you have breweries that want to take a whole pub's taps, so they take the whole font. And the cider, the idea of it was to be like an alternative offering, but you as the customer going into that pub would be buying that brewery's cider. So it was kind of concentrate pop for just drinking. And then the other side of it is it's pressed on a farm by Gary, who's been there for 80 years and he's got no teeth anymore, but that's how he's always done it. It's in a jerry can. And it's kind of there's almost like no in between of those for most people, and whichever one they have first is their understanding. So they either, for most people, if you like in the shop, I'd be like, do you like cider? And they'd usually say, no, I've had, and it's either this old farmer's one and it tasted like cow manure, cat shit or manure, or it's mass-produced crap and you know it's a bit too sweet, and you're like, it's kind of like judging the whole of beer on Carling and Duchess de Bourgogne. It's like, what? So
is in the middle there, yeah.
So blending is, you can get a lot of single varieties that are like bone dry. You get a lot of farmers that do it where they're like, that's how it ferments, and then we back sweeten and pasteurize. So we have one thing that the sugar is what we're changing, but the juice is whatever we use. And then you get makers like Tom Oliver's pretty much my sort of idol in it, where his barrel room is just there's no height to it, so it's just like hundreds of barrels on the floor. They're all chalked with the dates, and it's like that kind of adoration I have for that is what a lot of people have for like the Belgian breweries, where they're like they can't believe the artistry of it, kind of thing.
Wow, I mean,
but I was going to say, speaking of it, rip the bloody label off, mate. Have a look at the bottle.
I mean, I really want to do it, because now, I mean, I don't even know exactly if I'm drinking like a 4%, 5%. What we have in here?
It is 5.4, I believe. 5.4 exactly.
So you mentioned like sessionable, because this is like, how would you describe like a sessionability into a fine cider on these days? Or you can
yeah. Well, it depends on how you're drinking it. So if you're going to drink this, if you come to cider through beer, 5.4 is on the high end of session. Whereas if you come from wine, if you were to have this chilled and have it in a stem glass, it's half, if not less than that, of a bottle of wine. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, it's how you drink the session is sort of dictated by that.
Oh.
I've just seen a shout out to Corinna there and Clapton Craft for joining.
The crew! There we go. Guys, if you didn't get yet what we're having in here, this is actually the cider that Martyn creates with this in... Oh, hold on a second, Martyn. Oh, hold on a second. Whoa, all right. So, do you remember, guys, Pilton, right? Do you remember that cider? Because I was buying a few at the end of my shift, and I recommend it to many Londoners. So, okay, this is pretty sexy, right? This reminds me like some of the bottle of the orange wine in the show.
Yeah, so, yeah, Martyn, he did the one that I love from him. He's always had a good eye for it, but like his logo was pretty much like, he was kind of the gatekeeper of getting cider across that kind of barrier into like good hands in local farm shops and all this. But he's got one called Pom Pom, where he pressed quince for quince juice and then pressed apples on the same press. And it's kind of a natural blend of quince and apples. That's the astringency of quince lifts all the fruit. It's mad.
Wow.
But his label for that, it's Fibonacci sequence circles. And it's like, it's literally, that could be on a shelf in P. Franco. It looks stunning. So he said for this label, like, because I talk a lot of shit and I write a lot for on Instagram, he wanted that represented. So I ended up somehow to sort of commemorate COVID in lockdown. It's essentially my version of kind of Fitter Happier by Radiohead. So it's sort of vignettes, little snippets of what it feels like for me in lockdown. And it's much more depressing than I thought it would be.
Well, there were days then I was coming to the shop in N4, and you were listening incredibly. Could have been depressed, could have been happy. We were probably listening the same week, something from Lionel Richie, and then the day after, you were the Bad Bows of the Virgin Fruits. I was like, oh, Jesus. And that's an interesting, path for the next question will be, I had a chat with, someone who's entirely into help cider to almost like recreate self from a graphic point of view. Cider George. And
yes,
yesterday I was with...
met him once, but he is the nicest guy, and he's so talented. He's just finished uni now, but motion graphics, man. Like his like presentation is so slick. It's so good, and he did one for the release of this. Stunning. like gives a shit and is fucking nice. Like I win-win.
Yeah, and he's very young, so he's got a long way in front of him. And then
Yeah.
yesterday I was with Felix, which unfortunately Instagram gave me the beautiful present to don't let me save the story, as a story the live. So I will have to catch up with the guy again in the future. I told you it was a bit crazy Instagram today and yesterday. And you know, with Felix, it's about stories, and it's about you know, he selected products and everything. I always felt you, Mark, are an ambassador, which is can really give emotions to customers and people, and you know, occasional cider drinkers. And the emotional comes from the fact that you're creating stories around these products. You're telling stories to the people, stories based on your experience with the liquid, and this is probably something we on, you know, on the on the cider word. What do you reckon?
Yeah. Well, that's I've just seen Pressure Dropper joined. So shout out to the best brewery. Okay, straight fact. Don't even fucking judge it. But I guess I grew up in Cornwall, so unlike a lot of people, the West Country has this predisposition to cider, and Cornwall doesn't make that good cider. It doesn't have cider apples really growing readily, but then there are pockets of greatness. So don't get me wrong, but you have a lot of commercial cider readily available, and a lot of people will drink too much, throw up, and unlike, say, if you're from London and you go, I won't ever drink that again because I've had a bad experience. In the West Country, you go, oh, no, I'll go again. So I was predisposed to it as a category, but the thing I fell in love with craft beer when I was getting into it was the variety. Like there's so many exciting elements, but the best thing about it is fermentation done right. And then when you come to wine with that sensibility, and you find winemakers who you love.
Trouble to listen. Give me one second. Can you hear me right now? Oh man.